Hello folks, during yesterday's beautiful British weather, I was feet up with a pint of Tetley's tea when I did receive the news that some of Khazan's in-game stats had just been dropped. Due to procrastination and a very poor work ethic, I'm making the video today instead. Fear not, however, for I have stretched this out and padded it with as much irrelevant information and self-indulging monologues as possible, because I know that's what you really came for. Sarcasm aside, let's start with yesterday's news. Some pretty interesting and fun facts were announced by Play Khazan on Twitter. First up, we have the most fatal boss encounters so far. In third place, we have Malaka with 3.4 victories to his name. Next, we have Volcano with a square 4 million. And in first place is none other than the most hated boss by far, which is, of course, Viper. Coming in with a whopping 7.4 million victories to his name. If I were to hazard a guess here, this is likely due to the fact that Viper is considered the first real brick wall boss for most players, and despite Malaka being an objectively harder boss to fight, those who are struggling against Viper won't be seeing Malaka for a little while. I'd also hazard a guess that Viper may be the boss that most players reach and then simply decide to give up on the game. Regardless, this isn't all too surprising. Moving on, we have a total of over 54 million player deaths so far. Not much to say here, other than you know who you are. Up next, I believe this states that 36% of the players who have completed Khazan have done so by obtaining the true ending. Either that, or this states that only 36% of all players have actually completed the game thus far, but I'm fairly sure that it is the former. Up next, we have various different stats regarding the weapons. I'm not surprised to see that the spear is the most popular, offering very good damage and stagger potential, and a wealth of guides online advocating for this weapon. It does suck to see my baby sitting at a measly 27%. I'd have thought the Berserk fans would have shown up more in force, but I guess they just don't have the guts. Coming up next, we have a whopping total of over 203 million Netherworld energy uses. Khazan has been out for roughly 18 days. 18 days is just over 1.5 million seconds. 203 million divided into 1.5 million is roughly 135 heals per second since Khazan's launch. This is all very rough math, but it's accurate enough. Ignoring soul stones destroyed, because who cares? Next, we have total deaths by bosses, which is 37 million. Contrast this against the total player deaths being 54.2 million, and we can see that bosses are responsible for roughly 2/3 of all player deaths. Next, we have number of Spirit of Advocacies summoned being 4.7 million, and total Revenants of Adversity defeated is just over 17 million. Honestly, I would have thought the number of Spirit of Advocacy summons would be higher, whether you're choosing to solo due to preference or pure stubbornness, fair play. Finally, we do have the most popular armor sets thus far. In third place, we have Deep Shadow, which is a highly offensive gear set, which includes a spear and directly upgrading some of the spear's skills. Next, we have the Fallen Lord set, which is also an offensive gear set, which also includes a spear. Obtained earlier on than Deep Shadow, it makes sense as to why this is so popular, given the spear's popularity, and this set being one of the first decent sets that are obtainable earlier on. Lastly, we have the Ashen Wolf set, which does slightly surprise me, given it does feature a greatsword. None of its attributes are greatsword specific, however, and despite using this set myself, I opt out of the 6th attribute in favour of a greatsword, ring, and amulet set instead. I'd argue it's the additional Netherworld energy and overall balance of utility and offense this set gives, which makes it currently the most popular, and adding in that it can be acquired very early on. That's it for these stats. As you can see, there is nothing major, but it is interesting nonetheless. Moving on from this, we have some news from earlier on this week regarding Khazan has debuted at number 3 top seller on both Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 on the French charts, following behind Astrobot and AC Shadows on PlayStation 5, and behind Split Fiction and AC Shadows again on Xbox Series X. It's done well to take this place, albeit there hasn't been much competition over the recent weeks. However, there has still been some activity. Whilst not beating any of the mainstream releases, it is looking like Khazan has outperformed the more obscure releases similar to itself. It hasn't made an appearance on PC, and nor did I really expect it to. There is simply no comparing a console's library of games to a PC's. PC wins every day, and it doesn't say much that Khazan isn't on this list. I know I sound like a fanboy, and I guess to some extent I am. I like Khazan, it sits right in line with my tastes, and I'm glad to see it doing relatively well, but that is just it. For what it is, where it's come from, and the current state of the gaming industry, it is doing well, like it or not, which is quite obviously very good news for the most of us. That's it for this guide, folks. I've stretched this out as much as I feel comfortable doing, and I'd quite like to go bash my head against the drawing board once again. I do, of course, have a range of guides on the channel, so do feel free to stop on by and check them out. Otherwise, thanks for watching, folks, and until next time, peace.